Hello everyone, it's Fufu here, and welcome to a new series in which I will be counting down the top 5 most wanted Mega Evolutions of each generation of Pokemon. We will be starting at the beginning with Generation 1 and the OG Kanto Dex. For many people, these Pokemon are the epitome of nostalgia, so it should be pretty interesting to find out which ones we most want to see Mega Evolve. How I will go about finding the most wanted Mega Evolutions is by creating a poll which I will share on my Twitter account. All my Twitter followers will have a chance to get a say in this poll, so if you want to be involved in the next one, head over to my Twitter account using the links below. Without further ado, let's get on with this list. Number 5. Mega Machamp. For me, this was slightly unsurprising. Machamp is an awesome Pokemon and the OG fighting type. There were a number of cool fighting types in Generation 1, but Machamp is probably the best. Having said that, in more recent generations, many more fighting types have been introduced that are also very strong, and now Machamp has a lot of competition for a slot on anyone's team. So I'm guessing a Mega Evolution would give Machamp a freshen up and a much needed boost to stand up to the newer fighting types and once again become the champion it was named to be. Machamp has a very high attack stat, decent bulk and middling speed, allowing it to tank some hits, outspeed slow walls and dish out damage. It also has access to a couple of decent abilities, Guts and No Guard being notable. Guts increases Machamp's power when it is statused, and No Guard allows Machamp to use inaccurate, powerful moves such as Dynamic Punch and Stone Edge without fear of missing. So how would Machamp change with a Mega Evolution? I would guess a huge attack increase would be likely, as Machamp has always had one of the highest attack stats, only in recent generations being eclipsed by other Pokemon. I also think it would gain defenses, as it bulks up and its skin gets tougher. Finally, I think its speed would increase slightly, especially with this design as a leaner, MMA looking fighter having to be agile. It would still have competition with other Mega fighting types such as Mega Heracross, but Mega Machamp would not suffer from having extra weaknesses being a dual type, such as Mega Heracross has the 4x flying weakness. Mega Machamp won't have any 4x weaknesses like that, and it will also appreciate the extra bulk and slightly extra speed as well. For an ability, I believe keeping either Guts or No Guard would be likely, as these are very beneficial abilities. Alternatively, it could receive something like Iron Fist or Sheer Force to boost some of its coverage moves further. I doubt that it would change type, seeing as though it is a pure fighting type. There aren't actually any other pure fighting type Mega Evolutions yet, so I think that would allow it to stand out a little bit. And with these stats, having a lot of bulk and a lot of attack with a little bit more speed, I think it would be a very good wall breaker, and it would be able to take on some of the faster mons because it can tank their hits. So there you have it, Mega Machamp. Number 4, Mega Nidoking. Purely for design purposes, this would be awesome. Nidoking is a big, badass purple dinosaur dude. What on earth would its Mega look like? Currently, Nidoking has decent stats, but where it really does well is with its ability Sheer Force. This makes it into an attacking monster with a huge move pool on the special and the physical sides, benefiting from a damage boost from Sheer Force. It also takes no recoil from the damage boosting Life Orb item with this ability. So how would Mega Nidoking function? Honestly, I would be very concerned about this Mega because Sheer Force with the Life Orb is very powerful for the non-Mega Nidoking, and losing that Life Orb boost for a Mega Stone, even with the stat boosts that come with Mega Evolution, may not make Mega Nidoking hit any harder than normal Nidoking. What I think we would really need to see with Mega Nidoking is a boost to its speed or significant boosts to its bulk, or maybe both if it were to be relevant at all. Otherwise, Life Orb Nidoking would still be a better choice. Just consider other Mega Evolutions where this is sort of the case, like Mega Tyranitar. It's really only best for a Dragon Dance set because it has slightly higher speed than normal Tyranitar. Banded Tyranitar is still a very common set because it hits harder than the Mega Evolution. So I propose the following changes. Let's boost Mega Nidoking's attack and special attack so that it can mitigate the loss of that Life Orb boost. I think it's also very important that Mega Nidoking gets that speed boost, which I can see happening as it becomes bigger and more rampaging. I think it could definitely get a speed boost. With plus 15, that's not too much of a big speed boost, but it does take it to that very crucial base 100 speed, which means that it would speed tie with a lot of Pokemon and make it much more viable. Finally, it has 25 points of the 100 Mega Evolution points to spend, and I would put them all into special defense. This is because Nidoking is a ground type, and ground types really like to stop the opponent's volt switching around because of the immunity. So having extra special defense means that you can switch Nidoking in on electric types quite easily, and 81 HP with 100 special defense is actually pretty bulky, so it would easily be able to get this attacking monster in on those electric types. So I actually think that this would be a very fun Mega Nidoking set, but it has to get these stat changes. In terms of the ability, it really needs to keep Sheer Force too, because otherwise, if it loses that, it really isn't going to be competing with Life Orb Nidoking. It could maybe get something like Adaptability, but the beauty of Nidoking is that that Sheer Force ability boosts all of its coverage moves, and it has so many of them, so you can hit so many things super effectively. So I really think that Mega Nidoking needs to keep that Sheer Force ability. So that is my idea for Mega Nidoking. I hope it lives up to your expectations. Number 3, Mega Farfetchd. This one definitely came out of left field for me, with 5.1% of the total vote being quite a high percentage of the vote. Seeing as though there were so many Pokemon to split that, Farfetchd proved very popular, and I would imagine it is because this birdie is so overlooked. At the moment, Farfetchd is relatively frail and slow, which is a dangerous combination. However, since Sun and Moon, Farfetchd has gained attack to have base 90 attack, which is respectable, but still not enough to mitigate the rest of its stats. Its main abilities are unremarkable, but its hidden ability Defiant can be very useful, as opponents with Intimidate or Defog can end up giving your Farfetchd an attack boost. So what would a Mega Farfetchd look like? Well, we have to be very optimistic here. Even with 100 stat points to invest on a Mega Evolution, this bird needs a ton of help, and that is why I will consider the ability Pure Power, especially with this design, as Farfetchd looks super buff with those huge wings and 2, yes count them 2 leaks. If that is not a reason enough to double its attack stat, I don't know what is. Gaining this ability means I would not invest much further in Farfetchd attack stat, leaving it at 110, although this would still mean it's the highest attack stat in the game. It is still a flightless bird, so I wouldn't increase its speed too much either, reaching base 70 with only 10 points of investment. The defenses are what are going to get the majority of the boosts, with 35 points in each, so now Farfetchd can maybe take a hit. I think this will be a very fun Pokemon, and what's important to note is that its move pool is still not incredible, it's still very limited, but after a Swords Dance, there's not much that would want to take a Brave Bird from this Pokemon. Alternatively, a lot of people were talking about a Farfetchd design with it turning into a flying and fighting type, which I would also really like to see. Currently, Farfetchd doesn't get many fighting type moves, so I'm not sure how likely that would be, but if it did, and if it got some good fighting type moves, then it wouldn't even need Pure Power to be good, I don't think. If you could get the investment into the right stats, then just flying and fighting type would be very good because the coverage there is fantastic. Number 2, Mega Arbok. I'm really happy to see this Pokemon at number 2, and again this took me a little by surprise. Arbok is a very cool Pokemon that saw a lot of attention in the anime with Team Rocket, but in terms of competitive play, again it's slightly sidelined and a little forgotten. It performs decently well in the lowest tiers with a coil set, boosting its attack and accuracy, so inaccurate gunk shots now hit with extreme power. It has 2 nice abilities for this set, with Intimidate weakening the opponent's attack to allow for easier setup, or Shed Skin to help Arbok heal itself after being crippled by status while using Coil. So let us theorize about a Mega Arbok. Arbok will perform well in my opinion as a Mega Evolution because it starts with Intimidate, which is a very useful ability to have for a pre-Mega because you still benefit from it even when you're using a Mega Evolution. When you send the Pokemon in, Intimidate will activate. Also, interesting to note that it got a slight attack increase in the new generation in Sun and Moon, so its base attack is now 95. In terms of typing, I think Arbok would be a very likely candidate for its typing to change. Currently it's only Mono Poison, and I could see it maybe getting Dragon typing as well, so to become a Poison Dragon type. Very nice typing, really cool. We only really know Dragalge with that so far, so I'd love to see Mega Arbok get that typing. Notably, it's quite good defensive typing. In terms of the stat changes, Arbok has quite low base stats, and it's not having anything like huge power or pure power to compensate for that, so I could see one of its stats dropping to allow for more stat boosts in other stats, and I think that its special attack might go down by about 20 points to give us 120 points to play around with. Now we've just seen its attack stat boosted in the new games, and I would see this attack stat going even higher with its Mega Evolution. I wouldn't want to invest too much into its attack stat though, because as I say, if it does get the Poison Dragon typing, it's very good defensive typing, and I would love to see a lot of bulk in this Pokemon. So let's say plus 30 attack gives it 125 attack after Mega Evolution, a very good attack stat, but not wildly high like some of the Megas. But then if we see the rest of the points being invested in its defense and special defense, we see base 109 defense and base 129 special defense. That is a very bulky Pokemon with lovely defensive typing, and I think that would work very well because, as I say, Arbok's best set is a coil set. If it's got that bulk already, then it can coil up for days and do massive damage. In terms of abilities, I think it would be really interesting if Mega Arbok kept Intimidate. Now why this would be so cool is because normal Arbok would still get its Intimidate, and then when you Mega Evolve, Intimidate would activate again as Mega Arbok gets the ability. That means your opponent would have 2 attack drops in front of Mega Arbok, allowing you to coil up so easily, and I think that would be such an interesting way to play this Pokemon. It would also mean that it keeps Intimidate so that you could keep Arbok as a defensive Pokemon, switching in on things very frequently. For this set to be best, Dragon Tail works quite well with the Dragon typing, but also Dragon Rush would be a nice attack to see Arbok get, which it doesn't currently get. It's a powerful Dragon type move, but it has relatively low accuracy, just like Gunk Shot. It would be nice to see Arbok get that because those 2 attacks would be very good on coil sets. Arbok does get some nice status moves as well to mention, so it could just perform a purely defensive role with moves like Haze and with moves like Glare. Especially Glare is very cool. This Pokemon could be a really interesting Pokemon to play around with, and I would love to see the set. I think it's my favourite set that I've come out with out of all of these, and I would love to see it in the game, so I'm with everyone who voted for Mega Arbok. Very nice choice. Number 1. Mega Butterfree. Honestly, this was not so much of a surprise. Another underappreciated Pokemon and fan favourite, made all the more tragic because its counterpart Beedrill already has a Mega. How unfair. Butterfree is known for Sleep Powder and Quiver Dance, although there are other Pokemon that currently perform that role better, like Venomoth and then Vivian, and then this is probably the 3rd best Butterfly that can do that. And it has some nice abilities to complement the set. It has Compound Eyes so that Sleep Powder doesn't miss, or alternatively Tinted Lens, which makes its Bug Buzzers very hard to switch on because nothing that really resists it that well, because obviously the Tinted Lens boosts resisted hits, so if a fire type comes in on the Bug Buzz, they're going to still take a lot of damage. So how could we give Butterfree as much love as Beedrill? Well, first of all, I think we should consider a potential typing change. Again, I think this would be relatively likely. I think it could well change to a Bug Psychic type. Butterfree already learns a number of Psychic type moves like Confusion and Psybeam, so I think it would make a lot of sense for this change. And what would be really nice is that we don't actually have any Pokemon of this typing yet, so it would be a lovely way to introduce this typing. It's actually quite good offensive typing because the things that resist Psychic type moves are other Psychic types, and also Dark types are immune. Bug hits both of those typings super effectively, so that would be a really nice way of bringing these typings together. The only type that would resist both Bug and Psychic are Steel types, but we could again mitigate this because if Butterfree keeps its Tinted Lens ability, then it wouldn't even matter that the Steel types resist because the attacks are boosted with a Tinted Lens anyway when you're hitting a Steel type. So that would be really nice. And what would be cool about that is you could run the Compound Eyes normal Butterfree and put the opponent to sleep with an accurate Sleep Powder with Compound Eyes before Mega Evolving and then getting the Tinted Lens ability, so that you kind of get the best of both worlds. In terms of the stats, I think we take a similar path to Mega Beedrill, so I think that because Butterfree starts with a relatively low base stat total, we can drop its attack stat, which it's not using anyway, and get 130 points to spend on the rest of its stats. Unlike Beedrill though, I wouldn't just invest them all into its attack and speed. I would invest them and spread them out. So we do a lot of investment into the special attack and a lot of investment into the speed, plus 45 in each, giving a big special attack stat of 135 and a big speed stat of 115. So you're starting out pretty strong. And remember, after some quiver dances, those stats could get pretty crazily high. But where the rest of the stats go are in Butterfree's defenses. So its defense is boosted by 30 to 80, and its special defense is boosted by 10 to 90. These aren't wildly high, but what they do allow Butterfree to do is to survive some priority hits, and priority hits are probably the thing that would be stopping us a quiver dance sweeper set most of the time. So being able to survive those really gives Butterfree a lot more longevity as a sweeper. I think this set is definitely the scariest set that I've talked about today. It could easily sleep powder a Pokemon, set up one quiver dance, and then be set to sweep if you don't have the right Pokemon to stop it. Sucker Punch is probably one of the only ways to stop this Pokemon, or just having some very bulky, specially defensive Pokemon. But if this gets Slice Shock, then it could be even scarier. But I think that would be great. I think we need to celebrate Butterfree. It's definitely the people's choice because so many of you picked it. It got about double the percentage of any other Pokemon. It got about 11% of the vote, which is crazy. That's a lot of the percentage of the vote. And it would just be fantastic to see. And the design is lovely as well. So there you have it. That is the top 5 most wanted Generation 1 Mega Evolutions. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to be involved in the poll for the next video, make sure to check out my Twitter. But thank you very much for watching. All that's left to be said is I've been foofootoo, you've been awesome, and hopefully see you next time. Goodbye.